Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. Today we're going to be making yet another okra recipe and yet another okra recipe out of Deep Run Roots, Vivian Howard's cookbook. We are going to be making, fried okra hash. Now this is probably the closest to the usual homemade fried okra that I do and that most of the people that I know do. There will be a few differences depending on who does it, but this is as close to what I do as we're going to get from these cookbooks. So first off, I have measured the oil that she says to use and put it in my 12-inch cast iron skillet, just like she says. I have some cornmeal. Looks like she used white. I've got yellow. It doesn't really matter. And to the cornmeal, I'm going to add some salt. I'm going to put a little bit more than she says because my salt tends to be a little less on the salty side. And we're going to add a little bit of, cayenne pepper. And I'm just going to use a fork to mix these up so that it's nicely distributed. I've got my oil heating at medium high, which is what she says to do. This will heat up pretty quickly in this pan. My okra, I have sliced it. I took off the very tips and the tops where it's really thick. I take those off, and then she says to cut them in 1/3 inch slices. That is not what is in this book. The picture here, those are more like almost an inch, 3/4 of an inch maybe, slices, whatever. We did what the book says, not what it shows us. And I've got it in this colander or this strainer because we are going to go rinse this with water, which sounds weird, but we're going to rinse it with water so that our cornmeal mixture will stick, because we're not going to put this in any egg wash or any buttermilk, just water. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to take this so I don't drip all over my floor. So now we're just going to toss our damp cornmeal mixture with, or damp okra with the cornmeal mixture. Now I did not actually measure the okra, but I think it's approximately what she calls for. It's a pound, which is the normal amount that I feed my family of 4. Let's just say that. That cornmeal sort of gets on everything, but you're not gonna have a thick coating on this okra like you did on most of the other recipes that I've made. This is gonna be a much lighter batter than the other ones. Now, if you think your oil is ready, she says to put in, she doesn't give you a temperature or anything, but she says to put in a piece of okra, and if it immediately starts to sizzle, it's ready. And I think we're ready. And now we're just gonna put all of this in here. And we're supposed to spread it out, you know, as close to like one layer as we can. Trying not to get any of the super dry extra cornmeal in here. That's on the bottom, but there we go. Now, the goal here is to spread this out a little bit if it needs to, if you can, to get it as close to one layer as possible. And now, they're all supposed to be touching the oil, so we're gonna do the best we can. It's all pretty good, pretty close. But now we're supposed to just leave this be for 3 to 4 minutes. So I'm just gonna go wash my hand and leave it be. All right, we're at 4 minutes, so now I can touch it. And so she says to toss it around with a spatula and cook for 3 to 4 more minutes. I'm gonna let this side cook a little bit and maybe toss it around a little bit more. I don't know if she means to toss it around continually at this point, but I'm gonna let some other sides cook. But it's only gonna take 3 or 4 more minutes. So, and the goal is not for these all to be evenly, the goal is not for these all to be evenly brown. She says that some of them will be sort of honey brown, some of them will be a chestnut color, and some of them will be blonde. So don't worry if you can't get them all, you know, the nice brown, you know, golden brown and delicious. It'll still be delicious, but that is not the goal here. The hard part for me is not messing with it and letting it sit. That's one of the hardest parts of cooking, I think, is leaving it be. All right, I'm gonna call this done. It's, you know, some parts are really brown, some parts are not really brown, and I think it's ready. It's been like 4 minutes since we stirred it the first time. I tried not to stir it too much, but now we're going to take it with a slotted spoon and put it on a paper towel lined plate to drain, and the only other thing we have to do is after we get all of this out, we're going to hit it with a little bit more salt. Now she has measurements for this, but I am not going to use them. I'm just going to salt it with, you know, my fingers like I usually do, using my judgment. Once you learn how to salt your food with kosher salt by, you know, the pinch or that kind of thing, you get pretty good at it, and I think that's the best way, honestly. It's the easiest way to me, and then I don't have to measure it so often. I did measure what went in to the batter, but that is it. And you'll see it absorbed most of the oil out of this, but a lot of that will go into this this paper towel. So I'm gonna hit it with a little salt. About 2 pinches, I think. And that is it. Stay tuned and we'll let you know what we think. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make fried okra hash out of Vivian Howard's Deep Run Roots cookbook. And I think this might be the last okra recipe we make for this year, at least. There's not that many in here that we haven't made, and I don't think I have any in other books that we haven't made. So I think it's a little fitting that this is probably the closest to what I do when I make fried okra at home generally. I find it less messy than most recipes. And when I do it at home, instead of putting my cornmeal in on a plate or in a bowl and mixing the okra around in that, I just put it in a zip top bag, dump the okra in and shake it up, and then take it out from there and fry it. Always fry it all at once. Never use not a dredge, but like a dip, like egg or buttermilk, which a lot of recipes that we've made here for okra do use. I think that makes it just more messy. But I do love it for the larger pieces of okra that we fried, like when we fried it whole or just split lengthwise. So, yeah. So for me, what I do is generally this method. Some people use, and this is a really common sort of Southern way to cook okra. I think this is how I had it most in homes. when, grandma or mom made it. It doesn't usually have a thick coating. Some people use flour, some people use cornmeal. I usually use a mix of both. So either way works fine. I think it's a really nice lighter coating method, and I prefer the lighter coating on my pieces of fried okra. So yeah, wasn't very spicy, so that's good. There is a little bit of cayenne in it, but it was perfectly fine for the whole family. Just gives it a little bit of flavor, different than most. I'm pretty sure most people don't put cayenne in it, but maybe not. I don't know. I just know the few people that I've interacted with and eaten at their homes don't seem to be spicy fried okra. Not that this was spicy. Anyway. So yeah, it doesn't need lots of special equipment. I did use, I'm pretty sure, my cast iron skillet. You can fry it in anything. It's nice to get it all done at once. Yeah, and you just kind of let it sit there and turn it a few times. So it doesn't even take a whole lot of effort. So if you want to make fried okra sliced, this is the method I prefer out of all of the ones that we've made. Actually, I think only one of them has been sliced besides this one. Anyway, so if you enjoyed watching me make this, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and come back and watch me make something else next week.